Wayne Breezie over here, he got to attend. We gonna break it all down for y'all in a minute. Stay tuned, guys.
Let's go get him. Let's go get him today, man. Let's go. Hey, dominate on three. 1, 2, 3. Dominate.
Hey, what's going on, Wayne? How you doing?
Gravy, baby. The draft is over. It's time to start getting ready for the season. You got the OTAs and all the training, the dates coming out. You know what I'm saying? Got Deebo Samuel liking posts about him being a 49er. I don't know what's going on anymore, man, but I'm super excited.
Oh, me too. I mean, it seems like everything's kind of coming back to reality. The 49ers are kind of getting on page. During the draft, obviously, was crazy, right? At first, what happened? I mean, we know that Deebo Samuel could get traded at pick 10. Every 49er fan, I'm sure, was holding on right there to everything, jumping up and down at pick 10. Then we see, oh, Garrett Wilson's the pick. Perfect. That's the first domino. And then the 49ers, having an up and down draft in a way, not getting the players that they want, like a Donovan West in the fourth round or something. And then guess what? 49ers smashed the undrafted free agency, which we'll be talking about in a bit, getting a good amount of guys that can compete. And I love competition. So they had that. Then obviously the Deebo news today. It's been a nice, busy, fun 2 weeks or 2 days, not 2 weeks, 2 days for sure.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's the 49er way, it was going to be the way the 49ers and wanted it to be from the jump. And so I'm glad that somehow things kind of derailed a little bit. They focused on the draft. I can't believe that they drafted 9 draft picks, man. They had 9 picks and they drafted all 9 picks, bro. That's something different. I thought they would be aggressive. So this year wasn't the year of aggression for John Lynch and the company. It was the year of patience. And so they allowed people to fall right to them, man.
Yeah, and I mean, before I get to that, we got to say what's up to the chat because I know some of the faithful be tuning in. We got Mariah here. Obviously, she's the one right in Vegas, so draft was in her hometown. Then we got Kali, my boy. Thank you for tuning in, and then obviously the great is here. Thank you guys for all coming in. And like Wayne said, I mean, the 49ers stayed patient right in the draft. That was really, really cool. I thought that in a draft with so much depth, it was understandable. And it's not like the 49ers were the only team to do that. So for everyone clamoring, oh, trade up for this, trade up for that, 49ers stayed put and they got talent on the board. And another team that did this, that was the Baltimore Ravens. They had 6 fourth-round picks. They had a multitude of picks overall. And guess what? They didn't feel the need to trade up either. Had an A-plus draft because they could get value on the board at every single one of their selections. And I think that's really important in such a deep class like this because talent was on the board all the way through undrafted free agency, where the 49ers picked up Donovan West, center out of Arizona State. I thought that was a very good value pick for the 49ers. But when you look at the patience that they had, a lot of people were clamoring, oh, get Jaquan Brisker at 48. You can't trade up to 48 without a significant amount of capital. 49ers would probably have to move 61, 93, and one of their late round picks in either a fifth or a sixth round pick to get Jaquan Brisker, especially with the amount the teams were commanding to trade up. So I didn't think that would have been a smart move at all to trade for Jaquan Brisker at 48. Now, the one guy that I really wanted was Cam Jurgens. I was actually at the 49ers draft party. I talked to Joe Staley. He really wanted Cam Jurgens for the 49ers as well. But unfortunately, it was around league circles that Cam Jurgens wasn't making it past the Philadelphia Eagles at 51 or 54, I believe. And Philadelphia went up and they got him. And so that's how the draft played out. 49ers go best player available, Drake Jackson at 61. I think it's really important to just eye the board and see where value is. If you're going to trade up, you can't trade up a significant amount of capital, especially in a year when you don't have a first round pick. Also traded away one of your thirds. And the 49ers, they got value players on the board. And talking about a good job with the draft haters going to hate, I think it's fair. But the one thing is, look, a lot of teams were primed to have a great draft with so much depth. The 49ers assuredly weren't one of the top tier teams in the draft, I'd say. But I don't think that it's fair to criticize them, overly criticize them, because they didn't have a first round pick. A lot of teams had 1, maybe 2, and in the Jets' case, 3 first round picks. So they were bound to have solid drafts if they drafted pretty well. The 49ers did not have that. They had 9 picks, but they were a bit in the later rounds. So Wayne, what are your kind of initial thoughts going into the draft?
I mean, I expected them to do what they did, right? And so they drafted an edge rusher with the first pick of the draft. I thought that was the best value for the 49ers to get at that particular spot. And so they actually did it. Like, I thought they were going to go after a different edge rusher. I didn't think Drake Jackson would be even available at 61. And
Right.
so, my brain is thinking a little bit, further down the line, like a Nick Bonito or an Enagbe Bari and those guys, those type of players that I thought Sam Williams was available as well. So I was projected to get one of those guys, but then Drake Jackson was available. Now I had Drake Jackson like projected to be gone by the latest in the 50s, maybe 55 latest. So the fact that he lasted till 61, I got to give kudos to Lynch, Peters, Kyle, like the whole the scouts for allowing like him to just fall. And then when you drafted him, I mean, it just seemed like the perfect fit, right? You're going to get this kid that's raw, long arms, 34 and quarter inch arms. He's going to come in there. His weight has been fluctuating. He was like 250 something when he's with USC. You saw him on draft night. He looked about 273. He was kind of beefed up. You know what I'm saying? And so like this kid is going to come in here. He's going to come in raw and he's going to get under that Castro system and he is going to get whipped right into shape. I think that was the right pick. And you heard John Lynch say, hey, man, look, I know usually if you look at his stats, you're going to be like, you're not going to be enamored by his stats. Like you're not going to be blown away. He had 6 sacks last season, but he had 27 total pressures, right? So he's able to get pressure to the quarterback. He just didn't get hit home. And that could be partly to the way teams prepared for him. They knew he was going to be a monster. But I'm going to tell you right now, he is a disruptor. And that was a cool word that John Lynch used. He said, hey, man, we didn't get the guy that we know can get home. We have that already. What we need is to get a guy that's going to be disruptive in the pass rush. And that's what Drake Jackson is going to bring to you at pick 61.
Definitely, fair point. And talking about Drake Jackson following, I thought the 49ers weren't going to get him at all. After I saw Boye Mafe go at pick 40 to the Seattle Seahawks, Drake Jackson was the next guy on my board because obviously you had Logan Hall go in the early second round to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 33. Then after that, it was Mafe and Ebiketie. Ebiketie goes 38. Mafe goes 40. There's a 21 pick difference between Mafe and Jackson. I thought Jackson would have gone anywhere in that range. And instead, it was David Ajabo, who I thought was a very good player, obviously coming off the injury concern, but still, he goes at 45 to the Ravens. There's a 16 pick difference in a place where edge was a priority for many teams, and instead, not David Ajabo, our guy Drake Jackson falls all the way. I know you said Sam Williams. Me personally, I didn't have him as higher than Drake Jackson on my board, so it was interesting for me to see the Cowboys go with him with the off the field concerns, but Drake Jackson falls to 61. I thought that was the best pick the 49ers had in this draft, an A-plus kind of pick. And I see Jason over here saying that the draft was a good one, especially for depth pieces. I think that that's a fair point. And we can go ahead. We can talk about the pieces itself. We just hit on Drake Jackson. One thing you said, his production might not be great, but I don't really look at production when I'm looking at film. I look at how does this player play and how can that translate to the NFL? Like you can see, 17 sacks in 5 games, in 3 seasons, 5.5 in his rookie season in his freshman year, and it really kind of declined after that, right? 5 this past season. But when you look at it, Drake Jackson was utilized really, really poorly. His freshman year was the only place where he was really used as a premier edge rusher, and he was moved to outside linebacker, was dropped into coverage with that frame. I don't think that that's what Drake Jackson's role is going to be with this 49ers defense. He's going to be a pure edge rusher. And I thought there were a couple of players like that in this draft. One of my favorite, Myjai Sanders, was utilized in a poor way as well over there at Cincinnati. But instead, with the 49ers, you're going to be utilized as a pure edge rusher, situational guy on third downs. And I think that that's what Drake Jackson provides, a developmental guy with the traits that you require. You said it, long length, and I think that he's got good athleticism and solid size as well. He could beef up to 270 if he plays there, but I don't mind if he plays at a smaller weight. I think that it was a very solid pick.
Yep, very solid pick. And then at pick 93, look, when you look at pick 93, you look at Tyrion Davis Price, and you say, oh man, like I think my initial reaction was just like a shake of my head, like, oh my gosh, like why are the Niners drafting a running back with so many other needs, mainly needing the safety, right? You would think we needed a safety, and apparently we did because Didn't we draft one? Like we needed a safety. Well, we didn't even draft one. My bad. We signed one in the undrafted guys, right? Leon O'Neal Jr., who didn't get drafted, who I thought would at least go in round 5, 6, or 7. You know what I'm saying? And so the 49ers they knew what they needed. Apparently what we thought they needed, they didn't need. That's why they didn't address it. It was interesting to see them take the running back so early. I don't know how you felt about that, but there were other running backs that I thought fit the 49ers a lot better than Ty Davis, right? And so Ty Davis Price. And so I'm like, like, I wonder what the 49ers were looking into when they picked this kid up. And so then, obviously, after hindsight, after the stuff is over, you go back and you do your research. I'm trying to research it right there, like live on air, like, who is this kid? Blah, 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 blah. I do remember him coming in for one of the 30-30 visits. I remember him being one of the running backs that they interviewed and things like that. Like Brian Johnson from Alabama was a guy. Ty Chandler from North Carolina was a guy. And I think there were a couple of other running backs. So we knew, Rohan, that we were going to draft a running back. We just didn't think we were going to draft a running back at pick 93. And so then when you look at the kid, you'd be like, okay, he's 4.48 guy. You know what I'm saying? Sub 4.5. You know what I'm saying? He's pretty fast. And then when you start watching his highlight films, not his tape, I didn't get a chance to watch his tape. I have to work on getting that back or whatever. When you watch his highlight films, you see he does have this kind of breakaway speed. Like he can get to the end zone off of a 20-plus yard run or a 40-plus yard run. Like he can break big runs, right? And so I'm like, the main thing you're going to get from Ty Davis Price is I believe is his pass protection and his ability to hold on to the football. And the fact that he's a bigger running back, that makes him more durable and long lasting. And you heard Kyle Shanahan. And now this is before Kyle and John spoke, because I remember being on the air with John. I was like, or tweeting it out. I was like, you know what? They got a running back that's going to be durable and is going to be able to pass protect. And a lot of people are like, well, why would you draft a running back that high for pass protection? Well, that's the main reason why Trey Sermon couldn't get on the field last year, because his pass protection wasn't that high. He didn't know all the pass protections for, to block for the quarterbacks. And so I think this is a reason why they went out and got this kid, for that, and to be able to run the ball up the middle, 12 dives, 11 dives, goal line dives, those type of dives. And we knew they were going to draft a bigger running back, because that's why they brought in Brian Robinson, who led the SEC in missed tackles. You knew they were going to draft a big guy.
And that's very interesting that you said you knew they were going to draft a big guy, because not only did they bring in Brian Robinson, they brought in Jerome Ford as well.
Yeah.
Price. I like Jerome Ford a little more than Ty Davis Price. I'll be honest. I didn't think Ty Davis Price was going to be selected in the 3rd round. But I've come to understand, when Kyle Shanahan has that guy that he believes that running back will succeed in the system, go with it. And so for me, I went back. I originally had a lower round grade on Ty Davis Price, but I went back, I watched the film, and I'm very amazed by the explosiveness. You're right. He's not a home run hitter. He will not break away for 50-yard runs and stuff, but the explosiveness is there. And then you go back and I'm like, oh, let me go and see if it matches at the combine. 153 or 154 was his 10-yard split. For your information, guys, that is in the 93rd percentile. For players, Tyreek Hill was at a 150. So when you talk about explosiveness, this guy, Ty Davis Price, is off the charts. Now, the problem with me, I like the player. I definitely do, because like you said, pass protection is important. And the reason pass protection is important is for third down backs, you need to have the disguise of pass protection as well as catching. I don't think Ty Davis Price is really a great receiver out of the backfield. So that's my one question mark in a way, alongside his the lack of home run speed in a way. But Ty Davis Price, solid pass protector. We didn't really have that. And you can't be going out playing JaMychal Hasty, who's not really good in that field, on third downs, trying to like get that in mind. So I think that he is a good complement with Jeff Wilson Jr. And I think you need to get some more running backs for Elijah Mitchell. The reason Deebo Samuel played at running back last year is because we were at a lack of available bodies. Everyone was injured. Elijah Mitchell goes down, and you can't use Elijah Mitchell in a way as a bull, at least in my opinion. You can't use him as a bell cow back. Elijah Mitchell kind of showed that last year, that it kind of had a wear and tear on him, even though he had a lot of carries in college. And so I think if you use both of them in a complementary role, I think it'd be in the best interest of both players, where they're preserving each other's bodies. And you also have a good deep class, because you have Trey Lance who can run the ball, Deebo Samuel who can run the ball, and then Jeff Wilson Jr. and JaMychal Hasty, who's likely not on the roster anymore.
Very well said. Very well said. Very well said.
I mean, I like the player, just not the pick. That's it.
Yeah, right. And like I said, if we were going to pick a running back at 93, There were some bags on that board. And the crazy thing is Jerome Ford didn't even go to like pick 176. Like, so he got,
that would have
I
been
don't know.
beautiful value. Beautiful
Yeah,
value.
yeah, I can't remember who got him, but lucky them, right? Khalia says Davis Price could be our Leonard Fournette. No pun intended, too, because fortunately he went to LSU just like Leonard Fournette.
He's
He's a
essentially
big
a baller Leonard Fournette. Yeah.
Yeah, man. And the funny thing is, what was Leonard Fournette? Leonard Fournette was kind of fast to be that big, right? Wasn't he? Didn't run 4.3, but he ran a 4.4, I believe. If I look it up, it was probably like a 4.4 speed.
Somewhere around Ty Davis Price's speed as well.
Yeah, so it's a possibility he can be. I'm with you. My only question mark is his pass catching ability, and that's why I was like, that's not a Kyle Shanahan guy, but we are trying to withstand drives and no more quarterback sneaks, no more worrying about your quarterback getting a head blocked off. You got a big guy that could pound it right up the middle. And I think this is something that Ty Davis Price, TDP, the price is right, is going to be able to do for the San Francisco 49ers. Welcome to the team, brother. Welcome to the team.
Yeah. And we got a super chat up in here. 49ers First Takes. What's up, my boy Aaron? Great guy for you guys. Make sure you guys go subscribe to his channel. My boy Graybeard over here, all around TV like a superstar. Have a blessed day. Thank you, Aaron.
Shout out to Aaron, man. Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
It's all good, man. Graybeards are in, man. You know, it's a little salt and pepper.
Yeah. And then we got, actually, before we move on to Danny Gray, there is something we got to talk about because this boy, Jason Poby, catching passes out of the backfield. There was a video that came out after he got drafted. This guy is running routes at 300 pounds, looking like a fast demon. Jesus Christ.
You know what? The 49ers, he has to make this team, right? Like he has to find a way to outwork. Look. I know we're not talking about undrafted guys as of yet, but if you want to bring this kid up, this kid is a menace. Like he's great in the run blocking game. I'm not sure about how good his pass protection is, but you could utilize him as pass, make him eligible, go out for certain passes, line him up on the end as a tight end, the 300-pound. Like he has hands. You know, you could line him up as an H-back in the backfield. He can come out there and just run up the middle on some Fridge Perry stuff. I don't know if you're familiar with the Fridge, but you know what I'm saying? Like he could do some stuff like that. And so the 49ers have options. You already saw them try to run the ball with Trent Williams, like, you know what I'm saying? Like running around from a side. And yes, Jason, Trent pulling and Poe running. I'm telling you, bro, this is going to be amazing. Poe, whatever you got to do, Jason, please make this team because I want to see what Kyle Shanahan, and Anthony Lynn. Don't forget, Anthony Lynn is the reason why we're getting bigger and stronger on this offensive line. Like Anthony Lynn is like, yo, I need a big back. Give me a big guy. If you're telling me Elijah Mitchell stays injured, get me a big guy so we can sustain him. Get me these linemen, bigger guys, so can go out there and pull and push and get those guys down the field for your running back so that they can continue to fall forward and get positive yards. That's a good joint. Triple option with Poe, Brian. You on something right now. I like that, dog. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, we screw everybody on the roster. We got Trey, we got Debo, and we got Jason Poe. That's what
I like that. And they are bullies.
Yeah. Have Trenton there. Quadruple option. That's what we call it.
Yep. There it is.
But moving on to Danny Gray, I mean, this, in my opinion, was my personal favorite pick because back in March, I think on February 28th, I think it was the date, me and Marco, my co-host, Marco Martinez, great star.
Shout out to Marco.
Danny Gray, bro. And I had him mocked. I think in the 6th or the 7th round. And I said, this guy is going to be something to watch out for. Because he was ranked on PFM's board at like 348. I was like, no, this is a top 150 player. You got to watch out for him. And he shot up the boards after that combine, which I expected. Great player for me. My personal favorite. What were your thoughts on that pick?
I think he was everybody's personal favorite. Not because we didn't know what was going on with Deebo Samuel, but we finally got us a 4-3 wide receiver. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about 4.34 speed. I'm talking about a guy that can run down the field. Now, you know I like Tyquan Thornton. You know that was my guy. You know what I'm saying? Bum Patriots took him. But listen, this kid had... Right. This kid has really great speed, makes contested catches, is a good route runner. Now I know some people say he struggles in getting out of, getting jammed up on the line. He struggles a little bit. I tell you what, yo, if he can get his moves and his weight right to
Yeah,
make a move to get to the outside, I think you focus him on the outside, let him take the top off the defense. He's going to replace Travis Benjamin. I know a lot of people are like Travis Benjamin. Yeah, Travis Benjamin. He's going to be the replacer. He is I'm not comparing him to Travis Benjamin, but I'm comparing the roles. He's going to be
right.
the guy with the speed that can take the top off the D for right now. Don't think he's not going to run underneath routes and mid routes and all that type of routes. He's definitely going to do it. And don't be afraid. He may just line up in the backfield. He played running back back in the day. So this kid has running back skills, as a wide receiver. And so there's going to be a lot of good things they're going to get to do with Danny Gray. And like my team last night, we were on air. We spoke about this. Danny Gray is a dog. I mean, he's the type of dog that's going to sit there and talk trash to your face, but back it up.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I like the pick for sure, right? Danny Gray, like I said, was my favorite player. And when we talk about Danny Gray here at SMU, there are a lot of traits that you like. Obviously, first, it's the breakaway speed. Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch alluded to it. They said the reason that Danny Gray fit what their mold was is because he had that speed. And to me, I really like it because it's diversifying the wide receiver room. You've got
Mhm.
six different guys, in my opinion, that can do different things. We'll talk about one of them, Tay Martin, a little later. But you have such a diversified wide receiver room, and that's why I think it's so important. It just opens up things schematically for Kyle Shanahan with a brand new quarterback, and it just helps you out. To me, Danny Gray, he possesses that big, deep threat speed, and on tape when he's actually running straight burner routes, you can see it. I think he's got to definitely improve a little bit with the route running. I think he slows down a bit, like on purpose, with some of those route runs, just to kind of make sure he runs that route pretty well. And so that's one thing he has to kind of work with. Maximizing that speed with his route running ability, especially when he's running deep. But I think that with the 49ers and how they've been able to develop these wide receivers, especially with deep running route wide receivers like a Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel showcased some of that ability last year. You've got the ability to potentially do that. And so that's why I'm excited about Danny Gray for sure. But the biggest thing for me, yards after the catch. This guy can run yards after the catch. You set him up on bubble screens, you set him up behind the line of scrimmage, set him up on quick slants where he can have that quick in break and go out for 40, 50 yards. I think that that's the wonderful part about Danny Gray. And not only that, it's going to help Trey Lance. You can throw short passes, throw passes near the line of scrimmage, and let your guys do the work for you. And so that takes some of that pressure off. And I think it's also really important for Danny Gray because if you're having passes at the line of scrimmage, guess what? They're not necessarily as hard of a pass to catch. It can help him increase that confidence where he doesn't necessarily make so many concentration drops, decreases that drop number, and helps himself as he tries to like improve as a wide receiver because there's not much on his plate. He can excel to his strengths, and Kyle Shanahan and his mind has the ability to just have his wide receivers and quarterback excel at their strengths. We've seen it countless times and time again, and I think that that's why Danny Gray is going to be a monster in this offense. And like you said, Travis Benjamin last year, right, had that role. He played a bit in the preseason, had 40 snaps overall, and it's not like these wide receiver number 5, number 6 guys don't see the field.
Mhm.
They do see the field, and so with that limited snap count, even if it's not for many snaps, and I think Danny Gray plays more than 40 snaps that Travis Benjamin played, you definitely have a chance to kind of flash in a limited role.
I agree. I agree 100%. I just like this kid. I mean, I know his college numbers. If you want to look at him, he had 800 yards receiving. He had 9 touchdowns. He was averaging 16.9 yards a catch. Like this kid is going to be a problem. He's going to come into a system where Kyle creates space. So if you don't know about Kyle Shanahan's system, he's allowing the receiver to get open in space, and then it's up to the receiver. It's up to their skill set. So not only can he run the fly routes down the field, the 9 route all the way down, he can actually run those crossing routes that I saw someone put in the chat. He can actually run the quick routes. He can line up in the slot. He can be X, Y, or Z. And I think that's what you're getting. You're getting like that versatility from each wide receiver. Like you said, they diversified the wide receiver room. And so now, how do defenses prepare for 6 different types of wide receivers that
Right.
can do the same thing, but are still different in a way? That's going to be scary.
And let me run one thing by you, Wayne, before we move on. Danny Gray, when I was watching this tape, especially against the Houston game where he played against Marcus Jones, I was watching Marcus Jones in that game. But Danny Gray, one thing he ran a lot at SMU were these clear out routes because obviously that burner speed forces some attention towards you. And one thing I got excited about, because I was talking with my boy Marco yesterday on our podcast, and one thing I got excited about, the game that I went to live. Week 16, Houston Texans. There's a guy named Deebo Samuel running a clear out route. Trey Lance says, nah, screw the play. Guess what? I'm going to hit that clear out route because it's open. And now, like, the point is, Deebo Samuel had that touchdown, but the point is, clear out routes are no longer clear out routes for the 49ers. Clear out routes are real weapons because Trey Lance has the ability to not necessarily stick on script, but also see the entirety of the field, not lock in on one option, see the entirety of the field, gauge the openness of the receiver. And with Danny Gray's speed, he has the ability to really excel and work hard with those clear out routes. Obviously, he's going to need to show the competition and he's going to need to show that attitude to want to compete for him to get those reps. But I think that that's an important thing because he's got experience with the clear out routes. It's something that he knows a little more compared to the other rawer aspects of his game. But Trey Lance, he's a guy where you can't really forget about that clear out route. And he proved that when he threw that touchdown.
Yeah, he sure enough did, man. And that's what you're going to like from these wide receivers. And as long as they could be on the same page, I'm excited for OTAs because Trey Lance gets to work out with all the players. I don't expect a guy like Deebo Samuel to probably be at there. I do expect him to be at that mandatory mini camp in June.
He'll probably show up and just sit, but it's all right.
You know what I'm saying? So, but it will be good. It'll be cool to see Trey continue to grow. And man, you heard Kyle Shanahan talk about it. You heard John Lynch talk about how excited he is to see Trey Lance come out here and just take what's his. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to be really cool to watch Trey grow with these guys that they got for him, the weapons that they got for him. You know what I mean? And we get to see that Trey arm. You get to see that Trey cannon and get him to get that ball down the field. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. And real quick before we move on to Spencer Burford, everybody in the chat, thank you guys so much for tuning in. You know, you guys are the main reason why we really like to do this, interacting with y'all. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I know Breezie appreciates all you guys.
100%.
But let's move on to Spencer Burford here. 4th round pick, 134th overall. What did you think of the pick kind of live? And now what are you thinking about it now?
Again, like the 49ers find players that they want to fit. You know, I definitely thought we should go with a tackle. I thought we should go with a guard at first. I mean, you know, and so then they bring this guy in. Now I think this is who you're going to get to bring in. And it's weird because I hate to say stuff like this, but I think they brought him in because he has the upside to be something like a Trent Williams. Like he has that upside. Like it's there. Like it's he's a monster, but he's still a kid. You know what I mean? And so he's gonna grow into his body. He's gonna grow into becoming a man. And why not get taught by the best left tackle in football? And so you can see right away him coming in, competing for like that right tackle spot if he can put his hand in the dirt and line up on the right side and, you know, block that way. But naturally, I think he's a left tackle, and I think he can come in here and learn a lot from Trent Williams. And so we do know that this is Mike McGlinchey's last year. We do know that Jalen Moore could play right tackle. But another thing is that the 49ers continue to bring in competition. And they didn't just bring in like bottom competition. Like, no, they got a dog. They got another dog, another physical guy. And if Jalen Moore ain't physical enough or isn't physical enough, pardon my English, this kid might just come out here and be like, slide on over, dog. I'm about to be the new swing tackle. Same thing with Justin School, man. Slide on over, dog. I'm about to be the swing tackle, and that's what I like. I've been talking to him privately, and just his conversation, yo. He is so confident, not cocky though. He's very humble, like super, like too humble. Like, dude, no, you the shit. No, he's humble, right? But he's confident, and I love that about him because, like I said, he's young. To be that confident, he's going to come in. I can't wait. He's going to have to get whipped into shape, but he's going to be a problem, you know, year 2, year 3. And so, look, I think the 49ers and a lot of their draft picks, because they draft a couple of linemen, I think the 49ers are preparing for the future, right? And so I think they're preparing for the guys that aren't going to be there in the next 2 or 3 years. And so they're getting the guys whipped into shape now. And so I like this pick. I actually do like this pick. I really thought, though, that if they were going to go tackle, there were other tackles on the board. But apparently, when you're trying to run this type of system, Kyle and John knows what they need. And so he was the pick. Spencer Burford, he's going to be a problem for the 49ers in years to come. He's not going to be like some of the guys we had to go and get like a Daniel Brunskill to kind of like fill the gap. And no. He's not a gap filler. He is going to be a potential starter very shortly in his career.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I mean, Spencer Burford, like you said, I think it's a pick for the future, and I think the 49ers implemented this kind of strategy last year, right? When they selected Trey Lance for 2022, when they selected Aaron Banks for 2022 as a replacement for Tomlinson. Jalen Moore, I thought he would have had a more immediate impact role, and he ended up having that with that swing tackle role. But Elijah Mitchell, I thought was a 2022 pick. Trey Sermon as well, when you're implementing all these guys for a Trey Lance type of scheme. And I think that they're doing a very similar thing here where they're having some picks that can contribute now, but also picks that can contribute in 2023, potentially take over some starting roles. Because, like you said, there are some veterans on this offensive line. 49ers have shown an affinity to try and get younger this year, right? What did you see in the offseason? Linebacker Oren Burks, 25 years old. Linebacker cornerback Travarius Ward, 26 years old. And all of the guys that they tried to sign were pretty young. Unless they re-signed a player, most of those guys that they tried to sign were pretty young. And I think that's pretty important. And Spencer Burford, like you said, fits what they wanted, right? They want these guys. They want these agile players that can come out, get in the second line. And so do I think Spencer Burford is a little more pro ready right now? Not necessarily. I think he does have to have some refinement, especially in pass protection. I think he's better against the run, but he's strong against when he's on the run, especially when he's on the move, and he can move. Like we saw that. My only one question right now is his size, 6'4", 304. Can that sustain at guard in the NFL? We'll see, but I do expect him to put on some weight while maintaining that athleticism that he possessed at the combine and through his testing. So I do like the pick for the future. I wasn't as high on it necessarily as some of the other picks. I thought this was a little more of a developmental pick that you're selecting in the fourth round. I thought you could have gone maybe with a guy like Zach Tom, who was there available, just went 6 picks after the Green Bay Packers. But
Agreed.
I thought that when you're looking towards the future, Spencer Burford is a guy who has some of the higher upside at the position, at the offensive line position. So that's why I was like, okay, it's fine with the pick. Not necessarily my highest grade, but it was fine with the pick because I could see why the 49ers, and especially in this Kyle Shanahan scheme, would try and go for a guy like Spencer Burford.
Very well said, man. Spencer Burford is going to be really good for the 49ers. Welcome to the Bay, brother.
Yeah, and we got a super chat here. Debo is going to be irrelevant soon. Go trade for real. I assume Debo is going to be irrelevant soon because he's coming back. Maybe that's what you mean. But yeah, I mean, this new regime, in a way, this kind of, it does seem like this kind of like topic is going towards Trey Lance, and I think that that's really important, right? We've seen a lot of moves, and I think Brian Greasy and all are getting involved, right? With Trey Lance, we see another young quarterback enter the room. We'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, I mean, it's start of a new regime, even though Garoppolo's on the roster. All indication, especially with the quarterback pick that we'll talk about soon, kind of indicates, right, even if the 49ers can't move on, it seems that they can't move on with the trade. It seems apparent that they will end up eventually moving on, be it at training camp, be it before week 1 or whatever. Yeah, but the next pick was the most interesting pick in my opinion. The cornerback out of Toledo, Sammy Womack at 172. What did you think?
Oh man, this is probably like my second favorite pick in the draft. Look, like first of all, when I was looking up the kid out of Toledo, I'm like, what is he gonna bring to this team? And so as I'm watching his film, I'm like, okay, he's an outside guy. But then when they interviewed him, he said he'll play inside. And I'm like, but you're an outside guy, right? And so like, but here's the thing, man, he's 4.39 speed. He's going to be, if he can transition into playing inside, he is going to be a freaking monster. He has the physique of K1 Williams. So he is 1 inch taller and 3 pounds heavier than K1 Williams, right? So he's 5'10", K1 was 5'9", K1 was 185, he's 187. Like this kid is physically fit and ready to play, and he's faster than K1 Williams. And here's the thing, the fact that he has the ability to play outside is what's going to help him. Because what happened with K1, as you saw him getting a little bit older, I don't want to say he got slow, but when they put those number 1 wide receivers in the slot, like he literally got torched. And I don't think this kid gets torched. You know why? Because he has the speed, the ability to play catch up. And this kid has 15 pass breakups, man. Like last season, in fact, he's the league team leading leader in of all history of Toledo and PBUs. This kid might not have a lot of interceptions. He only had 2, but the simple fact that he's there to get the ball out of the receiver's hands, that's a skill set you can't teach. It's almost like Josh Norman punching out the fumbles or Peanut Tillman punching out the fumbles. Those aren't things you can teach. That's just something that they have. That's a technique that they mastered, that their hands, that their it works for them. When everybody else try to do it, it doesn't work, right? And so I think this kid has a pass breakup technique that can't really be taught. It's part of who he is, and if he continues to do that, it's going to be amazing. The only thing is, I don't expect him to have a lot of PBUs playing in the slot because that's hard. That's almost impossible.
So talking about the player, right? Samuel Womack, probably a name not not a lot of people know. Me personally, I was surprised at the pick for sure. I like, I'll be honest, I probably wouldn't have known the player, but I surprisingly did know the player because I
Mm-hmm.
scouted at Toledo because I was watching Tyson Anderson, a fellow defensive back out
The
of Toledo.
safety.
He went
Mm-hmm.
a little later, and then I was like, oh, there's this guy Samuel Womack. Do a little research on him. This guy is a guy that makes plays on the ball. 17 PBUs, like you said, at during this last year at Toledo. He leads Toledo franchise-wise in PBUs, 37 over his last 3 years. That 17 led the FBS, the entire
FBS.
FBS. And with Tyson Anderson there as well, Sammy Womack was getting a lot of attention, and he proved that he could get he proved in a way at that level, even though it's a smaller school at Toledo, even though although it's in a good conference with the MAC, he proved that he could make plays on the ball. Like you said, not maybe as high interceptions, 2 interceptions, but really what you're looking for is how do you make plays on the ball? Sammy Womack proved that with that 17 PBU number. And so for me, it's a guy with traits, right? 5'10, 189, 190 pounds, somewhere around there. So he's a nickel corner size. He's got the speed, 4.39 40 at the combine. He ran fast pretty well. And also he's got abnormal arms for his size. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
31 and 7-8 inch arms. And so Richard Sherman, a guy a couple of inches taller, was 32-inch arms. I know my guy Jamal pointed that out to me. And so you have a guy with good traits to embody a slot position guy. And for me, it was a fine pick. It was an unexpected pick nonetheless because you didn't expect Sammy Womack to get drafted at all, right? So
Exactly.
that's why the trade dropped a bit for me. But for the player, I like him and I like the mentality that he brings. He's very, very confident. You need confidence in a corner, and I think that's important. That kind of build that he has, right? When you're confident about your ability, of course you have to match it on film. That's the most important thing. But you have to be confident in your abilities. He can play press. I see he's a zone cornerback. Yeah, he can play press, he can play zone. The one thing that I have a question about Sammy Womack is, can he tackle well? Because the
No,
49ers
no.
value tackling a big amount at
And
that slot position.
and that's why I'm nervous about putting him in the slot. And so that's my biggest light bulb right there, because he's not that it's not that he's a bad tackler. He just didn't have to do it much. I mean, he played outside cornerback, so he's not really getting tackles. He's breaking up passes, right? And so now we're talking about putting this kid because of his physique. We're talking about putting him in the slot. He has to be able to make the tackle because 9 times out of 10 in the slot, those guys are going to catch. And if you look at his games, if you look at his worst game of the season, guess where he played? In the slot. And it was the worst game of his season. And it was not a really good graded game. He didn't really do well, gave up the majority, gave up a lot of passes, was pretty poor in tackling. And so that's something that you got to look for, man. And so that's a good question that you brought up. I want people to go out there and if they're going to watch film on him, check out his tackling because that can be an issue going forward.
Yeah, and I'm gonna try and probably get out to rookie minicamp so I can see if Samuel Womack, if that's improvement, and if they're trying to
Nice.
place an emphasis on that. If I can get out there, then yeah, that's definitely something I'm looking for. But Womack, right, like you said, he played outside, didn't have many tackling opportunities in a way, and while he's 190 pounds here, Shark 2.0, but younger, faster, and stronger. To me, Shark played bigger than his size. He was only 5'8", maybe 180 pounds, but he was one of the best run defenders in the NFL, one of the best guys in terms of tackling at the slot position. Womack is a little more inexperienced, and when you're going from a player of Shark's caliber at the tackling and in run defense to a guy of Womack's caliber, that's where you're a little hesitant at the moment just because of the tackling ability. But cornerback ability, I think Womack's got it. We'll see how can Sam Womack really develop as a tackler, because if he can, it's not necessarily a skill that's super developable, but if he can, that's something that definitely the 49ers hit on. And one thing I heard from Marco as well is the area scout, Steve Rubio. He's a guy who pushed for Mike McGlinchey back in 2019, 2018. 2018. But he was pounding the table saying, this is the guy that we have to get, Sam Womack. That's one of the reasons that the front office said that they were going to get him. He was pounding the table for Sam Womack. And when you have a guy like Sam Womack, right, that a scout is specifically saying it's this guy that I want, that puts a little more confidence to the pick, right? Because a guy who's done a lot of work, a guy who's been loved, obviously, in that organization, when you do that work and you're saying this is that guy out of all the years, this is that guy, then yeah, it does place a little more emphasis on why the 49ers did draft Womack. And also, one thing I want to put out there, guys, in league circles, the draft boards are different than in the media, right? We saw that with the pick of Cole Strange. Cole Strange obviously was a guy who selected 29th. People thought, oh, this is the third round talent. You're selecting him 29th overall. No. I heard actually that Cole Strange was not making it out of the mid second round, and Cam Jurgens was going to follow in the second round. He wasn't making it out of the second either. And both people thought were going to go in the third round. Boards are different in NFL circles. So that may have forced the 49ers hand in a way because they didn't want to trade it in this draft, try to be patient, force the 49ers hand, and maybe they reached a bit. But we'll see how Womack develops for sure.
Good points.
Ooh, we got a super chat here about a player 49ers re-signed. Green Glassful says, Brett is a boss. How did you like that re-signing?
I mean, yeah, like healthy. When healthy, Verrett's number one. Like it's not a question. He's number one. He was number one before he got injured. He was number one. And he'll be number one when he comes back. I mean, I know a lot of people are like, oh, we got Charvarius Ward. Yeah, man. If Verrett is healthy, you better move over, man. Because I'm gonna tell you, listen, Verrett, he's a lockdown corner, man. He's a lockdown corner, man. I'm telling you, like, and you saw it. And he takes the best wide receiver and he locks him down. You know what I'm saying? He forces bad throws. He's covering. Listen, I like Verrett. I've always liked Verrett. Remember, I think that was my first article with 49ers WebZone, how the 49ers need to like re-sign Verrett or something like that. Bring him back. And I said, bring him back on a 1-year deal. 1 year. That's it. It's it. It's a low risk, high reward type of a deal. And you saw the deal today, right? $500,000 up to $985,000. Like it's not even $1 million. Like they brought him back on the lowest veteran minimum deal they can find. And he signed it. And so when guys do stuff like that, no disrespect to Debo, because I want Debo to get his bag, but Verrett is a different situation, right? Verrett can't stay healthy for some apparent reason. His body just doesn't, work the way he thinks that it should work at times. And so he's in a different situation. But the fact that John asked him, yo, did you still got any football left, man? Are you thinking about giving it up? Verrett says no. They offer him a deal. He doesn't hesitate. He signs the deal. Verrett is betting on himself. When you got guys betting on themselves, man, it's going to be a little different. So here's what I like about the Verrett signing, the cornerback room rotation, right? And so Verrett replaces Josh Norman as far as veteranship. Don't get it twisted. He's way better than Josh Norman. He replaces him as far as being that veteran. You got a bunch of young guys that you're trying to whip into shape. Why not have them learn under Verrett? And when we get to this, the pick after the next pick, that is my Verrett-esque pick, right? And so that's why they drafted a Tariq Castro Fields. And I'm going to explain that when we get there very shortly. So let's get to the next pick.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Verrett is an interesting guy. Do I think he makes the roster? I'm not exactly certain just because they have so many bodies after picking up a lot of guys. But he's a guy who the 49ers definitely value, obviously, and it's great to see them give him another chance, after the injury. He is a guy that has played very well for them when he's healthy. Obviously, had a near Pro Bowl season back in 2020. And when you talk about Verrett, I think he has the potential to even slide in to the slot because he's a good corner, 5'10", 180 pounds about. So that's a corner type of build. If the 49ers have an open competition at slot, Verrett could certainly compete to play in the slot. But let's go with the next pick, offensive lineman Nixon Helge I don't know how to say it, to be honest still.
I think it's Zakiel and the J is silent. I think that's how they said it on TV. I think.
Sure, Nick Zakiel. Fordham, how did you like this pick?
Again, another person that I had no idea who it was. I'm not going to sit up here and stunt and say I've been scouting Nick Zakiel out of Fordham. I didn't even know Fordham had a football team. Fordham out of New York. I didn't even know they had a football team. You know what I'm saying? And so now I know no one's half the battle. I tell you what, I put some film on that kid's a mother. He's a monster. He's a mauler. They got a mauler. They're getting mean again on the offense. He's a bully. Do you remember Alex Bone? Or Boone, I think that's how you say his name, Alex Boone, the Rhino. We used to call him the Rhino. this is this guy right here, man. This is a guy that I feel like is going to bring that mean toughness back to the 49ers offensive line. You know what I'm saying? And so that it's a solid pick. It's a solid pick for the 49ers because again, they're not just developmental, they're really there for the future. I hate to say developmental because some picks are developed. You draft people later, they're a little bit more developmental. So I can understand that terminology. But this guy, if somebody goes down and he gets into the game, I don't think he's coming back out. All you got to do is play to his strengths in his rookie year. But as he continues to learn how to play football for Kyle Shanahan, he's going to be a monster.
And I agree. I actually like this pick more than the Burford pick for the immediate value. I thought he was a little more pro-ready, and I think his size is a little more pro-ready. And so when you talk about a guy like Nick Zakiel or Zakiel out of Fordham, the reason that I knew him is because he popped off at the combine. I was scouting guards, scouting offensive linemen, and Nick Zakiel, in my opinion, had the second best combine behind center Cold Strange out of Chattanooga. Zakiel posted a 9.85 RAS score, 6'6", 315. So you expect him to not run that well. Psych, 513, 40-yard dash. But the most important part, 1.67 10-yard split.
That's important.
Is explosive. He gets out on that first step, and that's really important to me in an offense that requires offensive linemen to move. Not only that, the broad jump was really good. I think it was a 9-foot 2-inch broad jump or something like that. And that's pretty good for an offensive lineman. Was in the 93rd percentile for offensive linemen. So everything about him in terms of athleticism screams. And it makes me even more confident that Adam Peters said, the assistant general manager for the 49ers, he said they've been actually scouting him for 4 years. He popped up on the radar back when he was a freshman because of that type of unique combination of size and speed. And so Zakiel, for me, I think he's a little more pro-ready. Played guard at the Senior Bowl. He's a primary tackle because obviously a small university like Fordham doesn't necessarily have the big bodies. So the biggest guy goes to play left tackle. He played tackle at Fordham, slid into guard at the Senior Bowl, struggled at the jump, but he improved as the week went along. And I like it, right? Because able to be improving on the spot. I think that's important. And he played pretty well in the Senior Bowl game itself. Exactly. That mental mindset, that's pretty strong. And that just shows you he's confident in his ability. He said it himself. He probably slots in at guard in the NFL, but I don't think it's out of the question that he commits to, or not commits, but he competes to play at center this year. If Alec Mack retires, because now you have a guy who we'll probably touch on next episode in Donovan West. You have a guy in Nick Zakiel. You have Daniel Brunskill. And I wouldn't be surprised if this guy ended up starting there at center, or at least competing to start at center. But he profiled in a way as a swing guy, a guard center kind of guy who's versatile. And the 49ers love versatile offensive linemen. Burford fit that mold. He's a guard tackle guy, mainly profiles as a guard. And then also, who do we talk about? This guy, Nick Zakiel here. Guard center guys, so you have versatile guys. Everyone can play different positions. I think that's really, really important. And so for me, I really do like Nick Zakiel here out of Fordham. I thought this was one of the better picks. I'm not going to say it's an A+ pick by any means, but I do think that this was a good pick for the 49ers who want competing bodies in 2022. So when you have a veteran offensive line, it's good to have that young guy to push them.
Yeah, like you said earlier, it's a great valued pick. But like I said, I didn't know of him. Not saying I didn't see him in the combine or anything. I wasn't paying attention. My guards, I was trying to draft higher up. I thought the guard was a bigger need, much higher. So I didn't draft or look or scout guards later on in the draft. Because even Donovan West, I thought would have been gone in the 3rd or 4th round at the most. Like I thought he would have been off the board, but apparently he went undrafted. And there's a reason why he went undrafted. We could talk about that in the next episode. But let's get to these last couple of picks.
Let's go with Khalia Davis out of the defensive tackle. How do you like it?
The monster on the midline. That's what I like to call him, man. He's a monster up the middle, man. This dude is tough. Now, listen, he was injured. He didn't play a lot of football. Did he miss about 8 games last year in college or something like that? Yeah.
I believe in October. So yeah.
Yeah. So he didn't get to play. But listen, man, you hear the scouts, you hear the reporters, you hear the analysts say, listen, man, if this kid played, he probably would have been a 2nd round pick. And so there's value in him, right? And so he's going to be healthy. The cool thing about drafting guys that are injured now, opposed to drafting them when they were injured like 10 years ago, is just advancement in technology and the way bodies are able to heal a little bit differently. And yeah, Kali, this is my Daniel Jones 2.0, and I mean DJ Jones 2.0. And here's why. I think he has the things DJ Jones had, like in DJ Jones later in his career. Like DJ Jones developed into being the DJ Jones we loved. You know what I'm saying? But he couldn't stay on the field. He couldn't stay healthy as well. And I think he has that get off like DJ Jones has already. And so if this kid has that already, he lives in the backfield. He's going to be great in stopping the run. He's not your pass rushing defensive tackle, but he can get to the quarterback. And so this is going to be a good pairing. And again, rotation on that two front up the middle. When you got him, Kinlaw, you got freaking Eric Armstead, you got Hassan Ridgeway. There's going to be some guys that are going to just be rotating in and out. And I think that they're going to continue to hit these offenses with so much force up the middle. They're going to 49ers are going to try to limit running to probably about 75 yards a game. If that. They really are going to try to limit the running game to 75 yards. That's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I really like this pick. I'll be honest. I said Drake Jackson was my favorite pick. This guy comes in a near second. It's either him or the next guy that we're going to talk about in terms of value. Khalia Davis is a third or a fourth or maybe even a fifth rounder if healthy. Like you said, get off. John Lynch raved about it in his press conference. He said Khalia Davis has the get off that we want, and I love the DJ Jones comparison. He's around 300 pounds. You call that undersized for a defensive lineman? Well, guess what? He's got the explosiveness that you need. He has the speed, and I really like him. He gets into the backfield on a good number of occasions, and he's the guy most people double teamed, and still he got in the backfield at times. It just shows he's a guy with the unique combination of size and speed at the defensive tackle position, and he's not limited. He doesn't have to play the nose tackle, the one tech. He can move to the three tech.
The 2-3, yes, sir.
Versatility on that defensive line. If you want a guy like Hassan Ridgeway to slide into the one tech, you can have him, Khalia Davis, right next to him and have a formidable duo on pass rushing or run defending downs. And so that's why it's so important. And the biggest thing I think for Khalia Davis, to me, he doesn't take up a roster spot. He's going to be on the physically unable to play list or the NFI list to start the season. The 49ers love bodies and have a good amount of bodies on that defensive line. They're going to be able to carry one more defensive lineman, at least to start the season, to preserve those bodies in the early part of the year, with Khalia Davis not technically counting on the 53-man roster. I think that that's going to be important. And they get him good to go, and he's going to be right there, a potential DJ Jones replacement. And remember, back in 2017 or 2016, I forget the year, DJ Jones was a sixth-round pick as well.
Sixth-round pick, yeah.
That's a pretty interesting comparison for sure. I love Khalia Davis out of UCF. If he's healthy, he's going to be a monster. Just hope that ACL tear doesn't take away too much of the athleticism.
Let's get to that next pick.
We got Tariq Castro Fields. I think you were raving about him earlier. I want you to talk your talk.
All right, this is our last pick in the 6th round, right? And so this kid, watching him on film, again, we talked about this last night. You're going to see inconsistent play, right? But I'm telling you, when he wins, though, he wins. Like, he's winning. So when he's on, right? And when he's off, he's off. And I think the reason why the 49ers drafted him is because they had hindsight and bringing back a guy like Jason Verrett. And so when I started to say, I know they're different in size, but they're not different in the way that they play, right? So, like, I'm thinking of their style, their play style. He reminds me so much of what Jason Verrett is, healthy. And so this kid, guess what he is? Healthy. And so only thing he has to do is come in and learn how to get acclimated to the speed of the game and trust himself. He has to trust himself, right? That's the one thing that I think he does. I think he overplays sometimes, and he'll give up a big play, and then he'll get down, and then there'll be another big play. And dude, shake off the big play, yo. You can't play. The 49ers give up big plays, but they don't give up points, right? And so you better get used to that. Like, it happens. It's going to happen. Wide receivers, defensive backs, cornerbacks, they're going to get burnt. Like, you're not going to be Deion Sanders. There's never going to be another Deion Sanders. And so I really do like this kid. I really fell in love with him at his pro day. Now, the pro day is what I like. I was like, oh, I'm watching Brisker. I'm watching Ebiketie. I'm watching all the other people, right? Beckaday, I'm sorry. I'm watching all those other guys, and I'm saying to myself, yo, this kid, he could be a problem. I thought he was going to go much higher.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he fell to us at 221. So this is a great pick. Shout out to the Niners for scouting him. I had my eye on him so much, and I'm so glad that the 49ers picked him up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Tariq Castro Fields here, 4.38 speed, 6'1", 200, prototypical size for a defensive back. He's got good speed. He also has pretty solid length. I think he has all the traits that you want. A little bit of a tight hip issue. He's not the best tackler. So there are obviously the flaws why he fell, but it's a great value pick for a guy who's supposed to go in the middle rounds of the draft. Ends up falling to 221. Might be the 49ers' best value pick, if not for some of the other players. And so, yeah, Tariq Castro Fields, just for reference, Daniel Jeremiah called him the best pick of the 6th round out of any team. And so that's why I think it's going to be valuable. And I want to run one thing by you before we get to this last guy, and that is I think Tariq Castro Fields could compete to start at safety opposite of Jimmy Ward. The reason is he's got good size, like I said. The hips might be a little bit of an issue to stay at cornerback, at least for year one, where there's so much competition. Instead, you have him try and compete at safety. The one thing, obviously, is the lack of tackling. I think it's his worst trait. But if he can try and if he can improve that as the training camp and all goes along, I think it's very enticing to have a guy like that because he's a coverage safety. So you have on run defending downs, you have a guy like Hufanga, you have a guy like George Odom who can play there. And then on coverage downs, on third downs, on those third and longs, you have a guy like Tariq Castro Fields who you're comfortable with playing cornerback, comfortable with. And so that's comfortable with playing safety even. And so that's something I pointed out right after the draft. I know Marco liked that idea too, and that could be a potential option.
I think that's a great option for him. And it could be a way for him to get into football shape really quickly because now he's only being assigned to just doing one thing and one thing only, opposed to getting like torched and burnt. Like, I think the one thing that hurt Diamador Lenore was him actually giving up big plays. And he kind of really never like recouped from that, right? Like, he kind of never really got better. Then the injuries started nagging and settling in. And it was just kind of like a little down, from a great start, a great camp for a guy like Diamador Lenore. So I don't think the 49ers want to go back down that route unless he's out there really putting in that work and he's doing exactly what it is and he's showing them he can do exactly what it is he can do. But the fact that he's versatile, this is like a poor man. I don't want to say a poor man's Jalen Petra, but this is kind of like, Petra is a cornerback. He can play nickel, right? And then he can also play safety as well. So this might be a really cool. No Border Sports, what's going on, man? I like that. No BS. That's so cool.
And we got our guy Johnny
Robinson in the building. Muhammad Ali. I like that, man. I like that. Let's get to this last pick because the game about to come on. I got to jump off. Let's do it.
Okay, Brock Purdy. What do you
think? Mr. Irrelevant, bro. Mr. Irrelevant. Do you think he's going to be relevant for the 49ers?
I actually do, and I'll say why after you.
Me too. Go ahead, brother. You got it.
Yeah, so Brock Purdy, I think this is a very interesting pick. I think, I'll be honest, my initial reaction is like, drafting a quarterback? Why? And then 5 minutes later, I'm like, okay, let me get my thinking cap on. And Brock Purdy, he's a very interesting player. I thought he'd go earlier. I actually think he's a good talent for 262. I thought he'd go in the 5th or 6th round, given how teams value quarterbacks. And he's your poor man's Jimmy Garoppolo. I know 49ers fans aren't going to like that. But this guy, fairly accurate, plays best out of play action, works best in between the numbers and on the short and intermediate ranges. Not a guy with a ton of arm talent, but he's reliable in that way. 70.7 completion percentage in 2021. He's one of the more accurate quarterbacks in the short range and the intermediate range. And so, to me, I can understand it because the 49ers, if they want to shift the playbook, they can just go straight to the system that they used before with Brock Purdy should an injury occur. And I think that that's helpful for them because they have a guy who they feel comfortable within their old system. So I can understand the transition if Brock Purdy was there. But more importantly, I think Brock Purdy is the pick because they said he was their number one UDFA, but they want that confirmation that they probably didn't have it, that they were going to sign him as a UDFA because obviously the player picks. Instead, you make sure you secure him, who is their number one guy. They draft him with that 7th round pick. That's what essentially 7th round picks are for, to get guys that you don't think you'll end up getting in the UDFA market. And so that's why I think the Brock Purdy pick is good. He plays the role of Nate Sudfeld this year, probably on the practice squad, and essentially ends up being QB2 probably next year once Sudfeld's contract ends up happening.
There you have it. And that's it. That's it. That's exactly what I wanted to say on Brock Purdy, man. He is going to be able to come in and compete or contest in games a la if there's an injury to Trey Lance. He's somebody that Kyle Shanahan will be familiar with and simplifying a system. It's not going to be like a Nick Mullins. I know a lot of people say he's a Nick Mullins 2.0. No, he doesn't have the arm as Nick Mullins, but he can come in and win you a game or two by utilizing the wide receivers in that short passing game and allowing them to get open in space. He can complete those throws. And if you look at his numbers in college, I mean, they're straight identical to Jimmy Garoppolo's numbers. And I know college is different than the pros, but I mean, a 70% completion quarterback, short throws, guys getting yak. I mean, they're identical. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so this was actually a good pick. And I think I actually not mocked him. I think on John Chapman's show, I think I said, we're going to take a quarterback. It's going to be Brock Purdy. Like it needs to be that guy. Someone that Kyle can be comfortable with in case of an emergency. All right. And so that's what I got from him, man. I really do like the pick.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, that wraps up today's show. Hour on the dot. We got the Celtics game against
Power hour.
We're gonna catch that soon. But thank you guys so much, obviously, in the chat for coming in, tuning in, and sharing your comments. We love it. I know Breezy does with the nitty gritty Niner Nation out there. Thank you guys so much. We'll catch you guys next week on Tuesday with our weekly show. And yeah.